Welcome to Crypto Simulation Theory. I'm the Gaussian Snake. What's going on in the markets? Why is Bitcoin dropping? Is this the end of the bull market as we know it? I don't think so. And I'll show you some reasons why. And we'll get into the qualitative and quantitative reasons for those in this video, which is not financial advice. I want to start out by looking at a tweet from a guy that I followed, Dr. Sebastian Purcell. I've been following this guy for a really long time, and he wrote an article called Crypto Reset: Why Yesterday's Sell-Off Could Be Your Next Buying Opportunity. And so, after yesterday's FOMC meeting, there was kind of a hawkish stance because of inflation kind of going up a little bit. More on that later. And so, the end of the year isn't looking as juicy for people as maybe they initially thought it would be. If you've been following me for any length of time on this channel, you know that I have been kind of like saying a correction was probably going to happen, and we could go as low as 84.5 to 88.5K. I don't think we have to go that low, but we could. So we're no longer in extreme greed. We're at 69 level, and that's likely to drop some more. And we've been overheated in extreme greed for a while. Bitcoin sell side risk ratio says that we've not entered a phase where price has risen too much, and my indicators are showing that as well. The Fed's hawkish cut also hammered altcoins. We talked about this earlier. Altcoin season index took a dive. We actually said on this channel in one of my previous videos that like the 45 to 50 area in the altcoin season index, and we'll pull that up later, could be a good area to find some support. So, this is looking like a buying opportunity for altcoins if you believe the cycle is still going to continue. So I'll put a link to Dr. Purcell's Twitter in my YouTube video in the description that you can check out for yourself. Let's go ahead and take a look at some data. Let's go to the altcoin season index and just verify that we're entering into that support zone that I spoke about in my previous video. So this is the altcoin season index. We did, head way up in altcoin season for a brief minute there and came right back down. You think this is all we get for altcoin season? I don't think so. Look at this really strong base. So I think, that we are going to retest some of these levels from the breakout. This is very typical that this happens where you'll, put out an accumulation range, you'll go up and then you'll come down for a little bit. I think we might chop down here for a little while, but I think we're coming right back up here in Q1 of next year. It could even happen by Christmas to New Year's. Like, I wouldn't be that shocked if it happened, but this is a pretty substantial drop. So I think we will have to spend a little bit of time at least forming some kind of higher support level. I think that's what I would be looking for here. Just looking at this chart. And I mean, obviously there's more to it than this. What altcoins have been really hot in the past 90 days? Well, a lot of the older names, right? So I think this is a reset. And when we come back into our next major altcoin season, I think you're going to see a reshuffling of these names. I don't think you're going to see the same names here. I think some of the newer projects, and especially Ethereum-based projects, are going to really shine in 2025. Is inflation really that bad? So I'm looking here. This is not on the 1 day. It says 1 day, but it's not. Nor is this on the 12 month. I should put this on the 1 month. There we go. Is inflation really that bad? I don't think so. Okay. This looks bearish to me. We are, in terms of the Bollinger Band, we're in the lower portion of it, and we're just coming up to the median line. Now, we are getting into a compression zone. That is something to kind of watch out for, because when you get into a compression zone like this means sometime in 2025, we might see a resurgence in inflation take place. I don't know if this is the time. I really have no way to know that. I mean, we did get down to 2.39, which is fairly close to the federal fund rate target of 2%. But, I can't tell you exactly what's going to happen in Q1, but I'm imagining this might roll over again, especially with the more hawkish stance that the Fed is taking by not doing as many rate cuts. So let's go ahead and take a look at what the market thinks is going to happen next year with rate cuts. So right now, the market is sort of predicting that we're going to have a rate cut pause in January's FOMC. I think that's a pretty reasonable prediction. I would agree with that. In terms of probabilities, it looks like we're going to have some kind of floor hit maybe in May, and that would be between 400 to 425 basis points. I think that's being a little too aggressive to think that we'll only have one rate cut next year. I don't agree with these forecasts. I think the market is being way too reactive to the inflation data and to Mr. Powell's speech. I don't think so. So while I do agree with January's pause, and I'm inclined to think that there would still be a pause in March as well, and I definitely could see a rate cut happening, I'm a little skeptical that it's going to make its way all the way to the end of 2025. And we're just going to find a floor between 400 and 425 basis points. Of course, a lot of this will depend on the labor market and also on the results of this this is kind of like a soft quantitative tightening because rates are being, dropped, but they're not being dropped in an aggressive way. So you are seeing some risk off behavior in the market as a reaction to this. Okay, so this is stablecoin dominance, namely USDT. We've been talking about this for a while. It did break down back in October of 2023 into a pretty nasty bear market. It had a bear market rally that lasted for quite a while from March of 24 to September, and it had a really nasty breakdown. And, I've discussed this zone and right in here between like 3.9% and like 4.4% as being kind of an area that might provide some support, and it's indeed been doing that. So the bear flag broke down, and that was Bitcoin's last rally. The Gaussian channel is red, concave up and widening. So, that's reflecting all this momentum right here. So I do think that we are likely to see probably another bear market rally. Into what though? Well, keep in mind that this is a lower low on stablecoin dominance relative to this one here. Is it a double bottom? I guess that's up to you to decide, but to me, it's a lower low. I mean, we wicked all the way down to 3.7%. I still think we could get down to this red zone right here at some point. So in the next few weeks, heading into January, we could see stablecoin dominance have a little bit of a resurgence and start to break a little bit towards the upside. But I don't know. I just think I don't think its bear market is done yet. Now, with the Gaussian channel red and widening like this, we could see the Gaussian channel go green. That is kind of likely to happen, especially with this formation. And a lot of that is just reflecting a very long bear market rally. So I wouldn't take it too seriously. Let's pull up the 2-week and see how that looks. See, that Gaussian is still very red. And we might want to look to this one for a more of a longer term picture of what we think is likely to happen. It looks very bearish, doesn't it? It's like you came all the way down. We tested the median line of the red Gaussian channel and we failed it. So perhaps we come back up to the 0.5 fib level, maybe even a little bit higher than that, to around 5.11% dominance. And I think we roll over again. And I think that rollover is likely to happen in the early part of 2025. Like I've said that our market could start rallying as early as the end of the year, like a Santa Claus rally, but it doesn't have to. It could take until Q1, and that's okay if it does. If this cool off lasts that long, so be it. That's totally fine. You can see that stable coins were due for a bounce. If you look on the stochastic oscillator, they really reached their peak intensity in September of 2024. And then we came all the way down to the bottom in November. So we're just now getting back into the purple zone. I think we'll actually get into the purple zone. And it's possible that we could even make it all the way back up to here. If we look at the weekly stochastic oscillator, we should see a fairly similar pattern play out, right? So we went down to the bottom zone here and stablecoin dominance had a bounce. I think this is nothing more than a bear market rally for stablecoin dominance, meaning that I think money is likely to find its way back into crypto sooner rather than later. Of course, our definition of soon could be another month from now, but that's totally fine if the market kind of does a whole lot of nothing between now and then. I don't know if it's going to last that long. I can't tell you right now. But what I can say is that stablecoins are kind of making a little bit of a turn here, and I think that they're going to at least bounce to somewhere in this area and then probably roll over again. So here's Bitcoin on the weekly. You can see we are having a red week. I have my Gaussian channel on, so it colors dark green is like red, light green is, bullish, dark green is bearish. You see some kind of rounding out going on up here at the 1.272 fib. We have discussed that the 1.272 fib would provide a likely place for resistance. I mean, we did discuss the idea of it possibly blasting through as well, but things were kind of getting overheated on the stochastic oscillator, which I'll show you in a minute, suggesting that something like this was likely. And we probably need a little bit of time to cool off. I don't think, that we're going to be back off to the races tomorrow or anything. But, this is not unusual at all. I mean, granted, we ranged for a really long time after this leg up, but look at this leg. The first leg in November to December, we ranged all the way into January before getting our next leg up. We could see something like that happen again. I mean, it doesn't have to play out exactly the same way. I would like to see this Gaussian channel start to reflect some of this upward movement, maybe tighten a little bit and start moving its way back up. But that's, it's a lagging indicator. So of course, we have to take that into account. So see how overheated Bitcoin was getting. I drew an orange line here just to show you that we don't often get to levels this high. And I did talk about this on one of my previous Bitcoin videos. So be sure to check that out, just, to confirm what I'm saying. But we haven't hit levels this high since November of 2023. It's been like a year since we've been at a level of 99 or higher on the stochastic oscillator. We didn't just roll over in, like we did in July. We didn't roll over like dramatically. We rolled over into January and imbalanced and had a secondary leg. And if you look at when this has happened in the past, when you have momentum here in the hot zone, you tend to stay up here for a little while. Okay, you don't just come straight back down. I mean, you can see time and time again, you'll have a dip, but then you'll come back up. Okay, nobody knows how long this dip's going to last, even in 2019, right? Like we can go back and see, I mean, look at 2016, 2017, how many times we hit the 99 level on the stochastic oscillator. And it was just like, we just kept going and going until finally we couldn't go any longer. So it really feels to me like we could still have quite a bit of time left. I don't need to show you all the examples, but you kind of get the idea of how the stochastic oscillator is such an important indicator in determining kind of what your momentum is. We've just gotten back up here, right? After a very substantial drop. So I think we're probably going to come down into, one of these support areas, maybe in the 50 to 60 range, and then just come right back up. So, I mean, I could see mid-January being kind of a turning point potentially. Sometime in early Q1, I think we're going to see some significant renewed strength from Bitcoin. In the meantime, I think it could drop as low as to 84.5 to 88.5K. That is my red zone that I've sort of publicly talked about as being a potential area that Bitcoin could find some support to get ready for its next leg higher. And that might correspond to the median line of the Bollinger Band, coming into that region at the end of the year, very end of the year into New Year's area. So that would just be something to kind of watch out for with Bitcoin on the weekly. We can see the trend strength is starting to increase pretty notably. We're at 28.11 on the weekly, but the bull trend strength is decreasing. So this is kind of indicative of our cool down. We're likely to have another cross of the green DI with the ADX, which is, typically not what you want to see, but it doesn't mean that your bull run is over. You can get another leg up just like we did in February, March, but it just kind of means, we're likely to see a lower hill in terms of trend strength. That's very likely to happen. And that could plunge us into another accumulation range, potentially into late Q1 or Q2 of next year, which is kind of my base case for now. I have a hard time seeing Bitcoin blast off to 180 to 200K straight away. And what I'm kind of thinking is likely to happen if we go back here, I think we might get stuck in the mud somewhere around the 1.414 next time. So imagine a situation like this. Like I'm just making stuff up here as I go. So please do not hold me to this, but I can sort of envision a situation. Sorry. Maybe Bitcoin comes down here like around, I don't know, let's say January 6th, and then it finds renewed strength sometime in the new year. I don't know exactly how that's going to go, but like maybe heading into like February, March timeframe, we get just above the 1.414, and then maybe our massive altcoin season starts to kind of occur in that region. So that's kind of like what I'm thinking. And then maybe Bitcoin just kind of ranges for a while, maybe slightly, comes back down to test the 1.272, something along those lines. I would rather see. I don't want to see us go to the 1.618, and I'll explain why in a minute. I've talked about this in previous videos, but I don't want to see this. Okay, I'm looking to see that we get to the 1.414 or around there. That's going to make me a lot more confident that our bull cycle can continue and have some life left in it. Okay, so this is Bitcoin's risk metric, and you can see that we entered into the 60 zone. We're at 61.54 risk, and we're just kind of rolling over here a little bit after we reached the next level of risk. So wouldn't really be that big of a deal if we came down and tested these lower, 80 something to 90 something K region. I think that would be perfectly fine. Build out a little bit of volume in that area. And I don't really mind if it takes a few weeks to happen. It doesn't have to, right? It really doesn't have to. We're in a bull market. So, but you can see dips that could last for a little while. And maybe, you know, like I said, at the end of this year, Santa Claus rally, or early New Year's, somewhere around there, somewhere in that Q1 range, we see a bounce up to here. That would be perfectly fine, because that would actually take us into the 80 zone. And if we're in the 80 zone, we're not yet in major overheated territory. If we go to the 1.618, I'm going to start thinking that we've just put in a major cycle top. That doesn't mean that we can't go higher later in the year, but it's going to make the market a lot trickier to navigate, because at that point, Bitcoin will have exhausted most of its upside potential and will be in danger of entering into a bear market fairly soon. Now, I can show you an instance where that happened before, like in 2021, April 2021, we actually spent quite a bit of time up here in this red zone, and that was maximum risk. And then we had a really big drop, and a lot of people thought that this was going to be the end, but it wasn't. There was another bunny hill, and we put in a double top, which is technically a bearish formation, but Bitcoin did go on to make a new high, but it was at a slightly lower risk level. So, I mean, I have to be open to the idea that it could happen, that instead of going to the 1.414, we could go up to the 1.618. If that happens, though, I'm going to get very cautious. Okay, I'm going to be really, really cautious. If we get above the 1.414, that would be a lot more reasonable. But of course, markets don't care what I want to see. They will do whatever they're going to do. Now, if you have been following me on this channel for a while, you're familiar with these moving averages. These are whole moving averages, HULL. These are not simple moving averages. I use these because they're less lagging than SMAs. Honestly, I feel like more people should use them. So the yellow is the 20, the blue is the 50, the white is the 100, and the red is the 200 week. The 200 week is really what marked our change in trend from a crab trend to a bull trend. I did talk about this death cross of the 50 and 100 on this channel. Go back, check the receipts. I said that that was likely going to be a turning point. Bitcoin usually pumps into its death cross or around its death cross and then dumps sometime afterwards. So we are seeing a bit of a pullback here. I have the fibs off. We're below the 20 week for the first time in a while, but we have a golden cross of the 50 and the 100. And this golden cross is a very powerful move that in the past has resulted in parabolic moves. And I can show you evidence of that now, just to kind of like, you know, talk about, or to, you know, put a little evidence to it, right? So when we've had these golden crosses, like we had one here in 2020, July of 2020, it's not unusual at all to dump into a golden cross, just like it's not unusual to pump into a death cross. So back in 2020, July of 2020, Bitcoin did dump into its golden cross. It wasn't a super dramatic dump, but it did happen. I think we're likely to see something like this happen, okay? Something like that. But then look what happened afterwards. The moving averages sorted themselves out, and we got our parabolic leg, okay? Let's find another golden cross. Here's another golden cross. April of 2019. Had a very brief, somewhat parabolic leg. Okay, that was more of a echo bubble. Okay, let's go to the 2017 bull market and find our golden cross of our 50 and our 100. Where did that occur? Okay, that occurred back in June of 2015. We had some dumpage, right? But eventually, what ended up happening is these moving averages eventually sorted themselves out. It took a while. I mean, it took quite a few months, but we did end up getting that stacking. Okay, let's go back to 2013. Take a look there. See what happened. We got a golden cross in June of 2012. We got a dump right to the 50. Didn't make a difference though. We went parabolic, and this is before the 200 week even existed. So the odds are on our side. Let me just say that the odds are on our side that we are entering into the parabolic phase. But there's usually a dump into the parabolic phase, and we've seen that dump hit the 50 week. And the 50 week could be right in here in this red zone between 84.5 and 88.5K. I think that's a reasonable projection. And then we start to see all the moving averages get themselves sorted out in 2025. It may take longer than I anticipate for the parabolic move to happen. Like it might not happen right away, but I think that it's going to happen. Okay. So that's just something I wanted to point out about Bitcoin. Now, I want to go and talk about some other things. I'd like to talk about, you know, Ethereum and altcoins. I'm not that interested in Ethereum USD. Not because I don't care about it. It's just I'm interested in whatever's outperforming what. So I want to know, when is Ethereum outperforming Bitcoin? That's much more interesting to me than ETH USD. I think ETH USD probably has a good 4x in it from where it is now. But let's go look at ETH Bitcoin to kind of get an idea of when ETH season might be arriving. Okay, so this is ETH versus Bitcoin, which gives you the relative strength of Ethereum to Bitcoin. Right now, Bitcoin is clearly in charge. ETH Bitcoin did find some kind of bottom at 0.032 Bitcoin. This is some kind of bottom. Is it the bottom? I don't know. I think so. I think it is. I think we're about to have a double bottom occur, which is not unusual at all for ETH Bitcoin. You can see it's kind of making the turn here very slowly. Is there evidence to suggest, though, that ETH Bitcoin is likely to get bullish in January or Q1? I think there is evidence to show that, but you're not going to find it here in the chart. You're going to have to look under the hood to see some of that evidence. So let's look at some metrics. One thing I want to look at is, let's go to the 2-week and look at the RCMO, which is basically the price momentum oscillator, as I like to call it, but the reverse Chandy momentum oscillator. So let's go ahead and look at that and see what's going on there. We put in a very significant bottom down here at a score of like negative 78 or so. So let's go throw a horizontal line in on that and compare to times in the past where we've gone this low. So this indicator is a little bit like RSI. Okay. Last time we would have to find something this low was November of 2018. Now back then, ETH Bitcoin still dropped lower. Okay. So that did not mark the end of its bear market. It didn't, but it was awfully close, right? It was awfully close. So this was November of 2018. I don't know if a year is close. I forget. This is on the 2-week. It was awfully close in terms of 2 weeks. It was a year away. Okay. We got this low and we put in a higher low here and started going up. All right. But like, you won't find too many instances. Like right here in December of 2017, this was close to when ETH Bitcoin started to really roll over. But what has been going on? I mean, look at this downtrend. It has been just absolutely brutal. So are we about to put in an even lower low? Could we go lower? Could we potentially go to the very bottom of this red zone and call that the bottom? We could. It is possible. Will it happen? I don't know. I really don't know. Let's look at wave trend analysis and see what the wave trends are telling us. This is the wave trend oscillator on the 2-week. It has printed its third bullish divergence. Has there ever been a time where we've printed 3 of these? No, there never has been. Granted, the wave trend analysis only goes back on the 2-week till 2017, but this has to be very significant. Just like we printed 3 red dots, we printed 3 green dots. Seems like things are sort of equalized out at this point. I think we're about to enter into some kind of accumulation range. And accumulation ranges, as you know, have ups and downs. So I do think ETH is going to start to outperform Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is still pretty strong itself. So I think the strongest moves out of ETH Bitcoin will probably come towards the end of next year. I think like towards like the second half of next year is when you're likely to see some of the crazy moves from ETH Bitcoin. But I think you could see some significant mean reversion come fairly soon. I mean, the Gaussian channel looks like it might be in a good spot to inflect. It did go red in January of 2024. So we're coming up on a year of that. In the past, when it's gone red, like here, March of 2019, it took another 14 months for the Gaussian to go green. So that does, I don't want to be like, I don't want to do confirmation bias and say the exact same thing has to happen. It doesn't. But if that's sort of like some kind of average time that might exist, we're coming up on the 12-month mark really, really soon in January. And that would mean that if we were going to do what we did last time, which is very dubious at best, that would put February on the table for a really major move out of Ethereum to take us out, definitively out of this red channel. So, yeah, I mean, that could happen in February, right? Like maybe we don't have to wait till the second quarter of the year. It's just usually you get some kind of accumulation, right? Like upwards accumulation. Like even here, there was an upwards accumulation. We're not really seeing that right now. We're just seeing straight down. So I don't know if it's going to be a violent mean reversion or if it's going to be more slow and steady and then kind of pick up in quarter two and half two. Either way, ETH Bitcoin looks ready to roll. It looks ready to be bullish. Okay. So that is something that I'm taking note of. But right now is not the time. So I want to show you Bitcoin dominance. And let's take a look at what's going on there. Something very interesting is happening with Bitcoin dominance. 1, 2, 3, 4 bearish divergence dots on the 2-week. That's insane. That's never happened before. Never, ever. Bitcoin dominance, in my opinion, even though this Gaussian channel looks really clean right here. Okay. This is a clean, tight Gaussian channel. We do need to at least take that into consideration. But what happened here? We got a really large red candle in November. We came down into the bottom part of the Gaussian of the Bollinger Band for the first time in years. Okay, this is a significant point. We actually came down to the 0.5 fib level. That is significant. When did something like that happen before? Okay, look at how long in 2019 we were above the channel, and then we came down in early 2020 and then bounced around. The Gaussian channel was kind of tightening up, but it didn't look as strong as it looks now. Like, we might be at lower levels, but this is a strong channel. This is a very strong looking channel. This is why I said the topping region for Bitcoin dominance, I've said for a while now, is probably somewhere between 57 and 63%, maybe even as high as a 786 fib at 65% on best case scenario. This was such a strong bottoming formation that this made Bitcoin dominance just so bullish. You know, I am paying attention to the fact that we are above the 618 fib. I don't know if we'll have a 2-week close above the 618 fib. I think it's certainly possible. So I need to see where this close happens. If the close goes below the 618 fib, that's a very fierce rejection. And that would lead me to believe that this is a dead cat bounce at the beginning of the bear market for Bitcoin dominance. If the daily close is above, if the 2-week close is above the 618 fib, that would lead me to believe that we could potentially put in a higher high or a double top. Okay. So we need to be aware. This is one of the most important 2-week closes we're going to get out of this metric. What is the weekly looking like? Let's go to a lower time frame and take a look at dominance and see. So this is a pretty nice bottom. This is a pretty nice bounce off of the Gaussian channel upper region. And on the week, we also need to pay attention to the weekly close. Never mind the 2-week, but the weekly. Does the weekly close above the 618? Okay. Right now, it's looking pretty good. What is momentum looking like? Not so great. Okay, momentum is not looking so great. Let's look at the true strength indicator. Okay. True strength indicator also not looking great. So I still feel like this is a dead cat bounce into a Bitcoin dominance bear market until proven otherwise. What about the stochastic oscillator? That's a really good metric to use at extremes. So with the stochastic oscillator, that's a pretty nice bounce. How high is this going to go? Are we going to get all the way up here? Okay, so we do have to watch out for a double top. We potentially a higher high. Regardless, though, that's going to be bearish. A double top is bearish. A slightly higher high is bearish. A lower high is even more bearish. So I don't know which one of those it's going to be. There's no way for me to know other than to say, 2024 has definitively been and will be remembered as a Bitcoin year. I do not see the bullishness from Bitcoin dominance making its way into 2025. I see a breakdown happening. And I feel like this is already a sign of it happening. Is this the breakdown that takes us into a bear market for Bitcoin dominance? I think that it is, but I'm not 100% sure because I have to see what happens with this follow through. How high does this go? If we go to the 0.786 fib or something crazy like that, that would really surprise me. That is not my base case. My base case is more like a double top or slightly higher high at best. But regardless, a dead cat bounce / double top. If we go to the 786 fib, I would be shocked, especially with the way this Gaussian channel looks. This has been a very clear inversion. And you can see that Dominance is getting weaker. Let's take a look at the Gunnar EMA bull market slash bull market support band slash bear market resistance band. The Gunnar EMA is starting to shrink, right? That is what you typically see as you transition out of the bull into the bear. I mean, look, we almost hardly ever went below the red. We did a little bit here in January, but you could see how market structure has been gradually breaking, and this is pretty dramatic, like what just happened here. If we look at the Williams alligator indicator, you can see that the alligator looks like it's about to go to sleep. This is when you typically see some ranging with dominance. Like dominance doesn't have to just die. Like it might range for a little while before it plunges. And we'll have to see what happens here with the alligator. There was only one other time that the alligator kind of came close to doing that, and that was in February of 2024. But this is not a good sign for Bitcoin dominance. It is a good sign for the altcoin market. If you look in 2020, we definitely had the alligator go to sleep for a while before a brief resurgence, and then the alligator went to sleep. Or the alligator rolled over. I don't even know what this is called when this happens, but this is basically your bear market for Bitcoin dominance, which means you're also getting near the end of your bull market for Bitcoin. So we don't want to see that happen. We want to see some ranging. That would be healthy. That will allow an altcoin season to really start to mature. Okay, this is others dominance, which has clearly put in a higher high on the weekly time frame. I'm going to throw the Gaussian channel, weighted logarithmic Bollinger Bands, and all that. It's a very important metric. We had a descending wedge that broke out to the upside, and look, it's now coming back down. We got all the way to the 0.5 fib, very impressive. And we're coming back down to potentially test the 236 fib and also the breakout region. I think this is healthy. What's happening here? We're building out a base for a future move higher in 2025 for others dominance. So not only that, we've respected this long-term trend line that goes back years. We did come below it briefly, but not to worry. You know, we got above it. We got above the descending wedge. This looks good. This looks good to me. Let's throw a Gaussian channel and some Bollinger Bands on and see how that looks. I mean, look at this. This looks good, guys. Like we came down, we put in a bottom, we bounced up, put in another bottom. You know, we're building out a potential inverse head and shoulders here. Like, I don't think you guys realize how bullish altcoins are about to get next year. It sure doesn't feel like it right now, does it? But I mean, you can see a shoulder right here, potential head. And I'll bet you anything, based on the way this looks and how bullish things are looking, we put in another shoulder. Folks, that is bullish. That is bullish. It just is. Look at this breakout. That was a nice breakout. That was a nice clean slice. Okay, we couldn't overcome the Gaussian channel, but I think this one's going to inflect fairly soon and allow us to start moving up. Q1, 2025. It's time to shine. If you're an altcoin, I like the way this is looking. The wave trend looks good. Look how low we got. We got all the way down to here, and we were putting in higher high, higher low, bullish. Okay, yes, we're retracing a little bit. That's okay. Not a big deal. So don't worry about alts. They'll be fine. Not convinced. There's the Williams alligator. The alligator can't seem to make up its mind. It's kind of sleeping. Okay, alligator is sleeping. That's an accumulation range. That's your accumulation of a lifetime. We're in it. We're in the accumulation range of a lifetime. Alligator looks like it's kind of sleepy right now. It might go to sleep, might go down a little bit. I don't know, but it's looking like it's ready to get bullish again. Okay, look at all that. You know, it's been a while, right? But altcoins don't ever move just straight up, right? They're always come down. There's split in the way their seasonality. So we're just barely getting started here. Altcoins have barely done anything. The older alts have woken up a little bit. A lot of the newer ones haven't, or they've been asleep for like most of the year. This looks bullish. It just looks so bullish. Not only do we have potentially an inverse head and shoulders forming on a smaller time frame, but also potentially on a larger time frame as well. So sorry, I can't get bearish on alts. I can only get bullish on them when I see stuff like this. Is the market cooling off right now? Is it going to cool off for a little while longer? Sure, I think so. Could we wake up by the end of the year, Christmas, New Year's? Sure, we could. Will we? We might not. We might have to sleep a little bit longer, and we might not have a really substantial breakout till Q1, but I don't care. It's coming. It's coming soon. You can see it in the chart. Bitcoin has so much upside potential left. Altcoins have barely even gotten started. Could you guys even like forget that Ethereum hasn't even taken out its all-time high yet? And people are calling for the cycle to be over. It's not over. This is just a bull market shakeout. That's all it is. It's a reset. It's a reset of the indicators to allow for things to kind of shuffle around, and we're in transition. The Bitcoin dominant season is ending. Does Bitcoin dominance maybe have another nice move left in it? Sure, but I don't care. It's so close to being over that I just can't be bothered to care. I want to go where the money is going to be, and that money is going to be in altcoins. It is not going to be in Bitcoin because Bitcoin has already pulled like an 8x move or a 7x move off the bottom pretty much. And I think by the end of the cycle, Bitcoin could have pulled maybe, a 10 to 14x or even slightly more than that off its bottom. But where Bitcoin is right now, sort of hovering around 100K, you're probably not going to see any more than a 2x off of that. If your goal is to make a 2x, that's an easy 2x play. But you can make a 2x in the stock market with less risk. I'm after much bigger gains than that. Ethereum probably has a 4x. If all the stars align, maybe a 5x. I mean, that's good, but I'm interested in making more money than that. Altcoins, a lot of them have 10x's, 30x's, 50x's, 100x's, or even more. It's a lot harder to make those 100x's this cycle, but it can still be done. I think you're going to see much greater returns out of the altcoin market, and 2025 is going to be an altcoin year, and be careful about getting fudded out right now at the worst possible time. I can't tell you how to set up your portfolio or how you should trade or what you should hold. This is not financial advice. It never was and it never will be. But what I can say is that I do offer perspective. And the perspective that you want to pay attention to is that things look way more bullish now than bearish. The momentum is on the side of the bulls. It is not on the side of the bears. And just like in bear markets, you have bear market rallies that can last for months. Well, in a bull market, you can have shakeouts that can last for a few weeks or even months. We just had a long crab trend. Remember, that crab trend was like 6 or 7 months long. We're not going to just roll over into a bear right after that. That built out a base for what we're currently in. Okay, so no reason to be bearish, in my opinion. Well, thank you for joining me for another episode of Crypto Simulation Theory. If you've lasted this long in my video for 38 minutes, you're going to make it. So why don't you hop into my Telegram and let's talk. I've got about 320 people in there, and we talk crypto 24/7. It never stops. We've got multiple analysts, some with a background from the actual traditional stock market. We've got some talented people. We've got people who run projects. I mean, it is a hotbed for creativity, for expression of ideas, and for kindness. That's what we're all about at Crypto Simulation Theory. This is the group you've been looking for, that you've been waiting for, that you didn't even know existed. And it's there, and it's growing. So hop in before it grows too big, right? It's very special right now because it's not so huge. And be sure to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Leave me any comments if you have any questions or disagreements or agreements. Just want to say hi. Let me know in the comments below. And I'll see you on a future video. All right, take care. Bye.